Admiral Tora Blackwood stood alone in the center of the massive Galactic Council chamber. The circular room stretched hundreds of meters across, rising in tiered rings that disappeared into the shadows above. Each tier held representatives from different worlds, thousands of alien faces staring down at the single human. Their murmurs echoed through the chamber, a rising tide of disbelief and anger. Tora kept her back straight despite the increased gravity that made her bones ache. Earth standard was 1G. The council chamber was set to 1.4G. Comfortable for most members, deliberately uncomfortable for her. "Silence," commanded High Counselor Vrax. His voice boomed without any visible amplification technology. The massive being's translucent skin pulsed with waves of blue light that matched his words, a natural bioluminescence that reflected his emotional state. Right now, those pulses came fast and bright. Anger. "Admiral Blackwood of Earth," Vrax continued, "you stand before this council to explain an act of war. An entire hegemony battle fleet, 47 battle cruisers, 200,000 soldiers destroyed. Explain yourself." Tora looked up, meeting the High Counselor's compound eyes without flinching. They invaded sovereign human space. "We defended ourselves," the chamber erupted. Delegates rose from their seats, appendages gesturing wildly. Some species emitted high-pitched whistles of disbelief. Others pounded consoles with tentacles or claws. "Impossible," shouted the Moldarian ambassador, a squid-like being whose skin changed colors rapidly. "Your world has barely achieved faster-than-light travel. The hegemony fleet was among the most powerful in the quadrant. And yet," Tora said, her voice steady despite the chaos, "not one of those ships returned." A heavy silence fell across the chamber. General Zorlak, the Galactic Minister of War, rose slowly from his seat. The massive being stood over 8 feet tall, his body covered in natural armor that gleamed under the chamber's lights. As the highest military authority in council space, his words carried weight. "The human speaks truth," he said, his voice a low rumble. "Our long-range scanners confirm it. The hegemony fleet is destroyed." From the highest tier, a small figure in flowing robes leaned forward. This was the archivist, oldest member of the council, keeper of galactic records dating back millennia. "How?" The simple question cut through the renewed murmurs. "How did your world defeat such a force?" Tora touched the control pad on her wrist. A holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber, showing Earth, blue and beautiful against the blackness of space. "You sent soldiers to a Deathworld." Shouts of denial filled the chamber. A reptilian delegate with scales that shimmered like oil on water rose from his seat. "Ridiculous. Earth is classified as a Class 3 life-bearing planet. Moderate gravity, acceptable radiation levels, compatible atmosphere. Not a death world." Tora's laugh was cold. "Your classification system is fundamentally flawed. You measure atmospheric composition, gravity, radiation levels. You don't measure the life itself." She expanded the hologram, cycling through images of Earth's history. Predators chasing prey across open plains. Ancient human tribes fighting for survival. Modern warfare with its mechanized destruction. Natural disasters, hurricanes, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions reshaping the landscape. "We evolved on a planet where everything is trying to kill you," Tora said. "Where the smallest organisms, bacteria and viruses too small to see, can fell the largest creatures. Where the weather itself can destroy cities. Our entire existence has been adaptation to crisis, survival against impossible odds." She looked up at the council members, her eyes reflecting the light of Earth's battles. "We didn't want this fight. We've been trying to tell you for years that your classification was wrong. That sending troops to Earth would be a death sentence." The hologram shifted to show the hegemony fleet entering Earth's solar system 6 weeks earlier. Massive ships, dwarfing anything humans had built. "They assumed their technological superiority would guarantee victory," Tora continued. "They didn't understand what they were facing." The next images showed the invasion's progression. Landing craft descending toward Earth's surface. Troops deploying in perfect formation, using tactics developed over centuries of galactic warfare. Then, chaos. Hegemony soldiers collapsing as Earth's pathogens, harmless to humans but devastating to alien biology, overwhelmed their systems. Battle formations breaking as Earth's higher gravity strained their bodies. Combat robots malfunctioning in Earth's intense magnetic fields, and the humans, fighting back with a ferocity that stunned the council. Soldiers who kept fighting despite severe injuries, civilians who turned everyday tools into weapons, military strategies that seemed reckless, even suicidal, yet succeeded against overwhelming odds. Every admiral in your fleets knew the truth, Tora said. They warned the hegemony. General Zorlak himself sent 3 separate communications advising against the invasion. The general nodded slowly, confirming her words. But the hegemony wanted our resources. They thought we would be easy prey. Tora's voice hardened. They were wrong. The final images showed the remnants of the invasion fleet trying to escape Earth's orbit, pursued by smaller, faster human ships. The desperate last stand of the hegemony flagship surrounded and overwhelmed. So, Tora said as the hologram faded, we have 2 paths forward. You can recognize Earth as a sovereign power with all rights under galactic law, including the right to self-defense, or she let the alternative hang in the air. Unspoken. The archivist spoke again, voice quavering with age. There are stories in our oldest records, tales of other worlds where life evolved under extreme pressure. Deathworlders, they were called. What happened to them? Asked a delegate. They disappeared from our records. Whether exterminated by fearful civilizations or evolved beyond our understanding, we do not know. The archivist's gaze fixed on Tora, but none ever defeated a force of this size. Until now, Tora said. High Counselor Vrax's skin pulsed with slower, deeper blues, calculation replacing anger. The Council will deliberate. In the meantime, a diplomatic mission will be sent to Earth to verify these claims and establish temporary protocols. I'll allow it, Tora replied, as if the Council needed her permission, a subtle shift in power that wasn't lost on anyone in the chamber. As the delegates filed out, General Zorlak approached Tora. You realize the hegemony will not accept this defeat, he said quietly. They will come again with greater force. I know, Tora said. And when they do, they'll make the same mistake, thinking that technology alone determines victory. The general studied her for a long moment. What does determine victory, human? Tora smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. Will, the absolute refusal to be conquered, something you can only develop when you've spent your entire evolutionary history fighting to survive. As she walked away, the general felt something he hadn't experienced in centuries of military service. Fear. Across the galaxy, War Prince Dorn of the hegemony reviewed the battle recordings for the 100th time. The humiliating defeat of their fleet was unacceptable. The humans would pay. Prepare a new invasion force, he ordered his commanders. Triple the previous numbers. This time we bombard from orbit first. His senior admiral shifted uncomfortably. War Prince, with respect, the intelligence was correct. Earth is not what we thought. I don't want excuses. Dorn slammed his fist down.
I want that planet.
Prepare the fleet. The admiral bowed, hiding his expression. Everyone knew what Earth was now. A death world. And they were about to send more soldiers to die. Meanwhile, on Earth, preparations began. The first invasion had been repelled by desperate improvisation. The second would face something far worse. Humans who were ready and waiting. Admiral Blackwood looked out over the United Earth Defense Council. The hegemony will return, she told them. And the Council may decide we're too dangerous to be allowed our freedom. So we fight them all? Asked a general. No, Tora said. We show them something they've never seen before. She smiled. We show them why Deathworlders make the best allies and the worst enemies. Ambassador Lorak stepped onto Earth's soil with great reluctance. The Galactic Council's most experienced diplomat had negotiated peace between warring star empires and diffused interstellar crises, but this assignment filled him with dread. Behind him, 6 other alien representatives from the Council's highest echelons exited the shuttle, each moving cautiously in Earth's gravity. Welcome to Earth, said the human greeting party. 5 of them stood in a neat row, wearing what Lorak had been told were formal diplomatic uniforms. No visible weapons, but after the hegemony's disastrous invasion, he knew better than to assume humans needed weapons to be dangerous. The gravity is substantial, commented Delegate Prill, the avian representative whose species evolved on a low-gravity moon. Her wings twitched with discomfort. Only 1G, replied the lead human, a woman who introduced herself as Director Eliza Reyes. Standard Earth gravity, We can provide mobility assistance if needed. Lorak noted how she didn't apologize for her planet's natural conditions. Most host species would adjust environmental parameters to accommodate guests. These humans simply expected others to adapt. Deathworlders. The word kept repeating in Lorak's mind as the human delegation led them to ground transport vehicles. The council had debated for 2 weeks following Admiral Blackwood's testimony. Some wanted to declare Earth a prohibited zone, cutting it off from galactic society. Others argued for immediate military action to neutralize the human threat before it expanded beyond their solar system. Cooler heads had prevailed, barely. This diplomatic mission was the compromise: establish contact, understand the humans, and determine whether coexistence was possible. Our first stop will be UN headquarters, Director Reyes explained as their vehicle moved through a sprawling city. Representatives from Earth's nations are waiting to meet you. Lorak stared out the window, observing the human habitat. The city teemed with life and motion, millions of humans packed together in artificial structures that reached toward the sky. The noise level alone would drive most species to madness. How many humans live in this city? He asked. New York? About 8 million in the city proper. 20 million in the metropolitan area. The delegation exchanged shocked glances. Most council species preferred small, widely spaced communities. The idea of millions voluntarily living in such proximity was disturbing. You enjoy crowding? Asked Delegate Thorm, his scales shifting color with his discomfort. Director Reyes smiled. Some find it energizing. Others prefer rural settings. Humans adapt to a wide range of population densities. There it was again, adaptation. The defining trait that made humans so dangerous. The meeting at the United Nations revealed more surprises. Earth wasn't governed by a single authority, but by a loose confederation of nations, each with different customs, languages, and priorities. Lorak had expected to negotiate with one voice. Instead, he found himself facing hundreds. How do you make decisions? He asked, bewildered by the cacophony of the General Assembly. Messily, admitted Secretary General Okafor with a laugh. We debate, compromise, sometimes argue for years. But when faced with external threats, we unite quickly. That evening, during a reception held in the delegation's honor, Lorak watched humans engaging in another baffling activity, consuming substances that would poison most species. What is that liquid? He asked a human diplomat who sipped from a glass. Wine, fermented fruit juice, contains alcohol, a mild toxin that temporarily alters brain function. Many find it pleasant. Lorak's translator must have malfunctioned. You deliberately consume toxins? For pleasure? The human nodded, offering his glass. Would you like to try it? Lorak declined hastily. The diplomatic visit continued for 2 weeks. Each day brought new revelations about human adaptability and resilience. The delegation watched in horror as humans engaged in recreational activities that risked serious injury, climbing sheer rock faces without safety equipment, hurling themselves down snow-covered mountains at high speed, deliberately submitting to physical combat as a form of exercise. These people are insane. Delegate Prill whispered to Lorak after witnessing a group of humans swimming in the ocean despite warnings of dangerous currents. Not insane, Lorak replied. Adapted. Their world forced this on them. On the 10th day, news arrived. Hegemony scout ships had been detected entering the outer solar system. The second invasion was beginning. Admiral Blackwood, now Earth's representative to the Galactic Council, called an emergency meeting with the delegation. We know they're coming, she said without preamble. Our intelligence suggests a force 3 times larger than the first invasion. Lorak felt a chill. The hegemony cannot afford another defeat. This attack will be merciless. We're counting on it, Blackwood replied, and the cold smile that accompanied her words made Lorak understand why the archivist had warned them about Deathworlders. The delegation was taken to Earth's Defense Command Center, a massive underground complex built into a mountain. Here Lorak finally understood why the first invasion had failed so completely. Humans hadn't just adapted to their harsh world. They had weaponized that adaptation. Displays showed Earth's defenses, orbiting platforms that could manipulate gravity fields, satellites armed with electromagnetic pulse weapons, and, most disturbing of all, biological countermeasures specifically designed to target alien physiology. These pathogens, asked the medical officer of the delegation, pointing to a display. You developed them specifically to combat hegemony troops? After we captured some of their biological samples during the first invasion, yes, replied the human scientist. We identified vulnerabilities in their immune systems and created targeted responses. In 2 weeks? The medical officer's appendages trembled. That level of bioengineering would take our best facilities years. The human shrugged. Necessity. We've been fighting microscopic invaders our entire evolutionary history. Our medical science advanced accordingly. Lorak realized something that the Council had missed entirely. The classification of Earth as a moderate planet had hidden its true nature. The physical parameters were indeed within acceptable ranges, but the evolutionary pressures had created something unprecedented, a species that turned adaptability itself into a weapon. Meanwhile, across the solar system, War Prince Dorn watched from the bridge of his flagship as his armada assembled. 140 warships, 600,000 troops, enough firepower to reduce Earth's surface to molten slag. Our first attack was misguided, he told his commanders. We will not make the same mistake. This time we bombard from orbit. No ground troops until their defenses are destroyed. His senior Admiral Vex looked troubled. War Prince, our intelligence has uncovered disturbing information. The humans have been preparing. They've reversed-engineered technology from our destroyed ships and developed new weapons. Primitive copies, Dorn dismissed. Nothing that can stand against our fleet. With respect, that's not what concerns me. Vex activated a display showing biological readouts. They've engineered pathogens specifically targeting our biology. They've studied our weaknesses. Even orbital bombardment might not protect us if they've developed delivery systems that can reach our ships. Dorn's anger flashed. You sound afraid, Admiral. I am afraid, Vex admitted. Every military advisor in the hegemony warned against this campaign. The Galactic Council itself has labeled Earth a death world. Politics, sneered Dorn. The Council fears human potential. I see opportunity. Their planet is rich in resources we need. Resources we can obtain elsewhere without the risk. Enough. Dorn's fist slammed down. The attack proceeds as planned. The honor of the hegemony demands it, Vex bowed deeply. As you command, War Prince. Back on Earth, Ambassador Lorak composed his final report to the Galactic Council. The words came with difficulty. How could he explain what he'd witnessed? How could he make them understand the unique danger and opportunity that humanity represented? In conclusion, he wrote, Earth cannot be evaluated by our standard classification system. It is, by any meaningful definition, a death world, not because of its physical parameters, but because of the evolutionary pressure that shaped its dominant species. Humans have not merely survived their harsh environment, they have mastered it through relentless adaptation. The coming hegemony attack will fail, perhaps more dramatically than the first, and in its failure lies our greatest danger. Humans, once shown the galaxy, will not retreat to their world. They will expand, adapt, and transform whatever they touch. We have two choices: make them enemies or allies. There is no middle ground with Deathworlders. As he finished, alarms sounded throughout the facility. On the command screens, hegemony warships appeared, moving into attack formation around Earth. The second invasion had begun. Admiral Blackwood entered the room, her expression grim but determined. Ambassador, you might want to stay. You're about to witness why sending soldiers to a death world is a mistake that won't be made twice. Outside, Earth's hidden defenses powered up, ready to teach the galaxy a lesson about underestimating humans. The hegemony fleet filled Earth's sky with fire. From his command ship, War Prince Dorn watched with satisfaction as energy beams lanced toward the blue planet below. After the humiliation of their first defeat, this overwhelming display of force would crush human resistance before a single soldier set foot on their world. First wave bombardment complete, reported his weapons officer, targeting major population centers and military installations for second wave. Excellent. Status of human defenses? Dorn demanded. Minimal response, War Prince. A few primitive countermissiles easily intercepted. Their orbital platforms are attempting to move into defensive positions, but our superior numbers make this futile. Dorn allowed himself a rare smile. The reports of their capabilities were clearly exaggerated. Perhaps the First Fleet was simply incompetent. Admiral Vex stood silently at his station, eyes fixed on the sensor readouts. Something wasn't right. The humans were barely fighting back. After their fierce defense during the first invasion, this seemed wrong. War Prince, he said carefully. I recommend caution. This lack of resistance is unusual. Dorn dismissed the concern with a wave. They're overwhelmed by our superior firepower. Begin the third bombardment wave, then prepare ground forces. Aboard the Earth Defense Command Station buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Blackwood watched the hegemony attack with Ambassador Lorak and the alien delegation at her side. You're not responding, Lorak said, his voice tense. Your cities are being destroyed, are they? Blackwood nodded to a controller who expanded a display screen. The image showed one of Earth's major cities, apparently under heavy bombardment. Buildings exploded in spectacular fireballs as hegemony energy beams struck. But when the camera view pulled back, something impossible was revealed. The destroyed structures were holograms, elaborate projections over empty land. Decoys, Blackwood explained. We evacuated our cities weeks ago. What they're bombing are empty shells filled with simulated energy signatures. Another controller spoke up. All hegemony ships are in position, Admiral. Gravity net is ready, Blackwood nodded. Activate. Across Earth's orbit, hidden satellites powered up simultaneously. Invisible fields of warped space-time expanded, connecting into a vast web that enveloped the entire hegemony fleet. In space, War Prince Dorn felt his ship lurch violently. Warning alarms blared across the bridge. What's happening? He shouted as crew members were thrown from their stations. Admiral Vex gripped his console to stay upright. Gravitational anomaly. Our ships are being pulled toward each other. The gravity net tightened, forcing hegemony vessels into a dense cluster. Ships collided, shields overloading from impacts they were never designed to withstand. Precision formation dissolved into chaos. Impossible, Dorn raged. No species has this level of gravity manipulation. Blackwood turned to the stunned alien delegation. We reverse-engineered it from hegemony technology captured during the first invasion. Your ships use gravity fields for propulsion. We simply modified that principle to create our defensive net. Ambassador Lorak stared at the display in shock. How quickly did you develop this technology? 6 weeks, Blackwood replied calmly. Humans are good at adapting enemy tech to our needs. It's a survival trait. On the screen, the trapped hegemony fleet fired desperately at the invisible net ensnaring them. But their weapons passed through the gravitational distortions without effect. Phase 2, Blackwood ordered. Earth's atmosphere lit up as thousands of small objects launched from concealed silos. Not missiles, but swarms of tiny drones, each barely larger than an insect. Nanite carriers, explained a human technician to the bewildered delegation. Based on our own medical nanotechnology, repurposed for defense. The swarms surrounded the immobilized hegemony ships, attaching to their hulls. Once secured, the microscopic machines began their work, infiltrating through the smallest openings, disabling systems from within, spreading like a technological virus. War Prince Dorn watched in horror as his ship's systems failed one by one. Weapons, engines, life support, all shutting down as the invisible invaders spread through vital components. This is not possible, he whispered. Their technology is primitive compared to ours. Admiral Vex looked at him with grim vindication. Their technology, yes, but not their adaptability. We should have heeded the warnings. On the command center screens, the hegemony fleet hung helpless in space, caught in Earth's gravity trap and swarming with nanites. The mighty invasion force had been neutralized without Earth firing a single conventional weapon. Your entire fleet is disabled, Blackwood announced over an open channel to all hegemony ships. Your life support systems will remain functional if you surrender. Resist, and the nanites will disable those as well. War Prince Dorn slammed his fist against his dead console. Never! Hegemony forces do not surrender! As you wish, Blackwood responded coldly. Ambassador Lorak, please note for the council record that the hegemony was offered terms. She nodded to a controller. On the screen, selected hegemony ships began to lose life support as nanites targeted critical systems. Stop. Admiral Vex seized the communication controls from Dorn. This is Admiral Vex. I relieve War Prince Dorn of command under emergency protocol. We surrender. Dorn roared in fury, but ship security officers, seeing the life support failures spreading across the fleet, restrained him. A wise decision, Admiral, Blackwood replied. Prepare to receive boarding parties. Ambassador Lorak turned to Blackwood, his expression troubled. You could have deployed these defenses immediately. Why let them believe they were succeeding? Psychological warfare, she answered. The hegemony needed to understand completely that their technological advantage means nothing against us. This lesson needed to be absolute. Within hours, Earth forces had secured the hegemony fleet. Thousands of alien soldiers found themselves prisoners, their weapons and armor useless against the world they had come to conquer. But the most shocking revelation came when human boarding parties reached the hegemony command ship. In War Prince Dorn's private quarters, they discovered communication logs and strategic plans that implicated members of the Galactic Council, itself in orchestrating the attacks on Earth. Some Council factions wanted us eliminated before we could join galactic society, Blackwood explained as she showed the evidence to Ambassador Lorak. They feared what we represent. Lorak studied the documents with growing dread. The conspiracy reached into the highest levels of the Council, species that had publicly advocated for peace while secretly pushing the hegemony toward war. This will cause a crisis in the Council, he said finally. Perhaps even its collapse. Perhaps that's necessary, Blackwood replied. A system that fears new members rather than embracing their strengths is fundamentally flawed. Later that day, as Earth forces continued securing the defeated invasion fleet, Admiral Blackwood met with Earth's Unified Defense Council. The chamber was somber despite their victory. We've proven ourselves against direct military action, she told the assembled leaders. But the political battle has just begun. The evidence we've uncovered suggests a deep-rooted fear of Earth throughout galactic society. General Rivera, head of Earth's ground forces, leaned forward. They fear us because they don't understand us. What seems like insane adaptability to them is just our natural way of life. Exactly, Blackwood nodded, and therein lies our path forward. Ambassador Lorak will return to the Council with our terms. Terms? Asked a Council member. We're dictating terms to the entire Galactic Council? Yes, Blackwood said simply. Because we now have something they desperately need. Meanwhile, aboard his ship, Ambassador Lorak composed an urgent message to the Council. His hands trembled slightly as he worked, still processing what he had witnessed. The humans have defeated the hegemony fleet using technologies developed in mere weeks, he wrote. Their adaptability exceeds anything in our records. But most concerning is the evidence they've discovered of Council involvement in these attacks. Earth now stands at a crossroads. They possess captured hegemony ships, advanced weapons, and damning evidence against Council members. They could choose retribution. Instead, they offer partnership, but not as supplicants. They demand recognition as equals and a complete reorganization of Council security protocols. They offer to share their adaptive capabilities in exchange for galactic technology. We have no choice but to accept. The alternative is to make enemies of the most dangerous species we have ever encountered. Deathworlders who have now twice proven that sending soldiers against them only results in defeat. As Ambassador Lorak finished his report, the first human ships, enhanced with salvaged hegemony technology, were already preparing to leave their solar system. Earth was no longer isolated. The Deathworlders were coming to the galaxy, not as conquered subjects, but as powers to be reckoned with. Across Council space, the news spread rapidly. You sent soldiers to Earth? Every admiral knew a Deathworld would end them. Now the entire galaxy would live with the consequences of that mistake. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so divided. What should have been an orderly debate had dissolved into chaos as Ambassador Lorak presented Earth's terms. Representatives shouted over each other, some demanding immediate military action against the humans, others arguing for acceptance of their demands. High Counselor Vrax slammed his ceremonial staff against the floor 3 times, the booming echoes finally silencing the chamber. Order, he commanded, his skin pulsing with angry red lights. We will discuss this with the dignity befitting the Galactic Council. The archivist, silent until now, rose slowly from her seat. The ancient beings movement immediately drew all eyes. Before we debate further, she said, her voice surprisingly strong despite her age, I must share something with the Council, something from our oldest records. A hush fell across the chamber as the archivist activated a personal data device. A holographic projection appeared, showing star charts so old that many of the celestial bodies had since changed position. 3,000 years ago, the Council encountered another Deathworld species, she revealed, the Krath. Like humans, they evolved on a world with extreme environmental pressures. Like humans, they developed extraordinary adaptability. The hologram shifted to show an alien species, vaguely reptilian but with clearly mammalian characteristics, an evolutionary hybrid adapted to changing conditions. The council of that era feared the Krath, continued the archivist. When diplomatic efforts failed, they attempted containment. When containment failed, they voted for elimination. Images appeared of massive fleet movements, planetary bombardments, the systematic destruction of a civilization. It took 50 years and cost millions of lives. But the Krath were eventually defeated, the archivist said. Or so the records claim. What do you mean to claim? Asked Counselor Ziv, representative of the Barathi collective. The archivist's expression grew troubled. The final records are incomplete. There are indications that the Krath weren't eliminated but instead fled beyond known space. Some accounts suggest they evolved further, adapted even to the void between stars. These accounts were sealed by ancient council decree. The chamber remained silent as the implications sank in. We have two paths before us, the archivist concluded. Repeat the mistakes of the past or choose a different way forward. The humans have already proven they cannot be easily defeated. Their victory over the hegemony fleet demonstrates that. High Counselor Vrax's bioluminescence pulsed with slow, thoughtful patterns. Ambassador Lorak, you have spent time among these humans. What is your assessment? Lorak stepped forward, feeling the weight of every eye in the chamber. The humans are dangerous, not despite their Deathworld origins, but because of them. They adapt with extraordinary speed, turning weaknesses into strengths. When the first hegemony fleet attacked, humans had limited space capabilities. 6 weeks later, they defeated a force 3 times larger using technology reverse-engineered from captured ships. Murmurs spread through the chamber. That said, Lorak continued, they show no inherent desire for conquest. Their terms focus on recognition, representation, and mutual security. They don't seek to dominate, only to ensure they won't be targeted again. And the evidence they claim to have? Asked Vrax. Proof of council involvement in these attacks? I've reviewed it personally, Lorak confirmed. The data is authentic. Multiple council members secretly encouraged the hegemony's actions while publicly advocating peace. The chamber erupted again as accusations flew. Several delegates hurriedly left their seats, either in protest or fear of exposure. Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Blackwood watched the council proceedings through a secure feed. The humans had insisted on transparency. All council deliberations regarding Earth would be transmitted live. They're fracturing, observed General Rivera, who stood beside her. Just as we anticipated. The old power structures can't survive this revelation, Blackwood replied. Too many secrets, too many ancient fears. A communications officer approached. Admiral, we're receiving unusual transmissions from the edge of our system. Unknown origin, definitely not hegemony or council standard. Blackwood frowned. Can you decode them? Working on it. The patterns suggest a form of mathematics we haven't encountered before. Before they could investigate further, the feed from the council chamber showed Ambassador Lorak receiving an urgent message. His expression changed from diplomatic neutrality to alarm. High Counselor, Lorak announced, interrupting the ongoing debate. I've just received word that unknown ships have been detected approaching Earth's solar system. They match no known design in council records. The chamber fell silent. Could this be human deception? Asked a suspicious delegate. A ploy to force our cooperation? The humans are broadcasting this session live, Lorak reminded everyone. They're learning this information at the same time we are. Back on Earth, Blackwood ordered immediate analysis of the approaching ships. The results came back quickly and troublingly. They're using technology far beyond council standard, reported the science officer. Energy signatures suggest propulsion methods we've never seen. And they're moving fast. They'll reach Earth orbit within hours. Blackwood opened a direct channel to the council. This is Admiral Blackwood of Earth. We've confirmed unknown vessels approaching our system. Given recent events, we're treating this as a potential threat. We request any information the council might have on these ships. The archivist leaned forward. Send visual data immediately. When Earth transmitted images of the approaching vessels, the archivist's already pale skin turned almost translucent. It cannot be, she whispered. What is it? Demanded Vrax. The design patterns. They match fragmentary records of Krath ships, not as they were when the council fought them, but as theoretical projections suggested they might evolve. The implications stunned the council into silence. If these were indeed Krath ships, then the species had not been eliminated but had continued evolving for 3 millennia beyond Council space. We need to form a united response, Vrax finally said, his voice solemn. Whatever old grievances exist between Council members, whatever conspiracy may have targeted Earth, we must set them aside. If these are truly Krath vessels, we face a threat greater than our divisions. Blackwood's voice came through the communication channel again. The unknown ships have increased speed. They'll reach Earth in 3 hours. We're mobilizing our defenses in the captured hegemony fleet. Admiral, the archivist said urgently, if these are Krath, conventional defenses may be useless. Their adaptation capabilities were legendary even 3,000 years ago. After millennia of further evolution, what do you suggest? Blackwood asked, communication. The Krath were not inherently hostile. The ancient council feared their potential and struck first, creating the very enemy they feared. In orbit around Earth, the combined human and captured hegemony ships formed a defensive perimeter. The Earth's gravity web was reactivated, ready to trap the incoming vessels. Admiral Vex, now cooperating with Earth forces in exchange for leniency for his crew, studied the sensor readings with growing concern. These ships, they're unlike anything in hegemony records, he told Blackwood. The energy output alone suggests technology centuries beyond our capabilities. We've faced superior technology before, Blackwood reminded him. Adaptability beats advanced weapons when the advanced weapons aren't designed for our specific threats. This is different, Vex insisted. These ships, they're changing as we watch, adapting their configuration in real time. On the main view screen, the approaching vessels were clearly visible now, sleek, almost organic in their design, with surfaces that rippled and shifted like liquid metal. As Earth sensors scanned them, their hulls reconfigured seemingly in response to the scans themselves. They're learning from our observations, the science officer reported with alarm. Each scan we performed, they adapt to counter it. In the council chamber, emergency protocols had been activated. For the first time in centuries, the ancient defense pact was invoked. All council species were called to contribute ships to a united fleet. Too slow, Lorak said quietly to Vrax. By the time our ships assemble, this will be decided one way or another. Then we must hope these humans are as adaptable as they claim, Vrax replied. The first of the unknown ships reached the outer edge of Earth's defenses, the gravity web activated, attempting to snare them as it had the hegemony fleet. For a moment the trap seemed to work. The lead vessels slowed, caught in the invisible net. Then impossibly they changed. Their hulls flowed like water, reconfiguring into new shapes that somehow slipped through the gravitational distortions, unaffected. They adapted to our gravity technology in seconds, Blackwood said in disbelief. Earth launched its nanite swarms next. Billions of microscopic machines sped toward the alien vessels, programmed to infiltrate and disable as they had with the hegemony ships. The lead alien vessel simply opened sections of its hull, creating what appeared to be energy fields that disintegrated the nanites before they could make contact. All defenses ineffective, reported the tactical officer. They're continuing their approach unchecked. Blackwood faced a decision that would determine Earth's fate. Launch a full-scale attack with every weapon they had or try the archivist's suggestion, communication. Open all channels. The being of light hovered in the center of the United Nations General Assembly Hall, its form shifting between solid and energy and rhythmic pulses. Earth's leaders sat in stunned silence, facing what might be either humanity's greatest ally or its final enemy. Admiral Blackwood stood at the podium, chosen to speak for all humanity in this moment. Behind her, Ambassador Lorak and the Council delegation watched with equal parts fear and fascination. I am Admiral Tora Blackwood. Representing Earth, she began, her voice steady despite the enormity of the moment. We welcome you in peace and seek to understand your purpose here. Light beings' form stabilized into something more comprehensible, vaguely humanoid, but with features that seemed to blend aspects of multiple evolutionary paths. When it spoke, the words formed directly in the minds of all present. I am Nexar, emissary of the Krath continuance. We have observed your emergence and your conflict with the Council species. Murmurs spread through the assembly. The being continued. 3,000 years ago, by your reckoning, the Galactic Council attempted our extinction. They feared what we represented. life forged in crucibles they could not comprehend. Deathworlders. The archivist stepped forward from the council delegation, her ancient form seeming even more frail beside the energy being. The council of that time acted in fear, she admitted. A great wrong was done to your people. Nexar's form rippled. Not wrong, inevitable. Fear is the natural response to that which challenges fundamental assumptions. The council feared our adaptability because it represented unpredictability in their ordered galaxy. Admiral Blackwood studied the being carefully. And now? Have you returned for vengeance against the council? Vengeance is inefficient, Nexar replied. We did not come for the past, but for the future. You stand now where we once stood. Deathworlders emerging into a galaxy that fears your potential. And what is our potential? Blackwood asked. Nexar's form expanded, filling the chamber with swirling patterns of light that resolved into images, humans spreading across stars, adapting to environments no council species could survive, evolving in ways that transcended biological limitations. You are catalysts, Nexar said as the images faded, as all Deathworlders are. Change incarnate. The council seeks stability, predictability, careful progress. You represent dynamic adaptation, revolutionary leaps, transformation. Both approaches have value. Both have costs. Ambassador Lorax stepped forward to stand beside Blackwood. The craft disappeared beyond known space. Where did you go? What did you become? We followed our nature, Nexar answered. We adapted, first to the harshest worlds beyond council space, then to environments no biological entity was meant to inhabit. Eventually, we adapted beyond the limitations of matter itself. The implications stunned everyone present. The craft hadn't just survived, they had transcended. And now you've returned, Blackwood said. Why, what do you want from Earth? We offer choice, Nexar replied. 3 paths lie before you. The being's light formed new images. First, isolation. We can shield your world from council interference, allow you to develop at your own pace. You would be safe, but alone. The image showed Earth surrounded by a shimmering barrier, protected but cut off from galactic society. Second, opposition. We can provide technology and knowledge to help you confront the council directly, establishing a new power in the galaxy. The old order would fall, replaced by one where Deathworlders determine the course of galactic history. This image displayed Earth ships spreading across council space. Human colonies replacing alien outposts, a complete reversal of power. Third, integration. We can help you join galactic society on equal terms, neither isolated nor dominant. This path is most difficult, requiring change from both humans and council species. Adaptability is your strength. Apply it not to conquest, but to cooperation. The final image showed humans and aliens working together, sharing technologies, establishing joint colonies, creating a balanced galactic community. The choice must be yours, Nexar concluded. We will abide by your decision. The UN Secretary General rose from her seat. This affects all humanity. We need time to discuss, to reach consensus. Of course, Nexar agreed. But know that others are already making choices that will affect your future. The being's light shifted to reveal a new image. A massive fleet assembling at the edge of council space. Not craft vessels, but council warships. Despite the High Councilor's call for unity, Nexar explained, factions within the council have activated the ancient Deathworld containment protocol. They prepare to sterilize Earth rather than risk your expansion into the galaxy. Ambassador Lorax stared in horror. Impossible. The council would never authorize, not the full council, Nexar interrupted. But enough members to assemble this fleet. They act in shadow as they did when pushing the hegemony to attack you. Admiral Blackwood's expression hardened. How long do we have? 3 days before their fleet reaches firing position. The assembly erupted into chaos. Earth had repelled 2 hegemony invasions, but a full council fleet was orders of magnitude more powerful. We choose none of your paths, Blackwood said suddenly, silencing the room. At least not entirely. Nexar's form pulsed with curiosity. Explain. You've presented our options as if they're mutually exclusive. That's not how humans think. Blackwood stepped closer to the light being. We want elements of all 3. Protection when necessary, strength when threatened, cooperation when possible. An adaptive response, Nexar observed, a note of approval in the mental voice. But implementation requires specificity. Then let me be specific, Blackwood replied. We want technological exchange with both the Krath and willing council species. We want defensive capabilities that ensure our safety without threatening others, and we want reformation of the Council to prevent hidden factions from starting wars. The archivist moved forward. Such reforms would require fundamental changes to Council structure, changes many would resist. Then let them resist openly, Blackwood said. No more shadow conspiracies, no more proxy wars. If certain Council members believe Deathworlders should be eliminated, let them make that argument publicly. Over the next 72 hours, while the Council fleet approached, representatives from Earth, the Krath, and loyal Council factions worked feverishly. What emerged was unlike anything in galactic history, a new compact that recognized fundamental differences between species while establishing common protections. As the Council war fleet reached the edge of Sol system, they faced an unexpected sight. Not just Earth's defenses and Krath vessels, but ships from 2/3 of the Council species themselves, positioned to protect Earth. High Counselor Vrax's voice transmitted across all channels. By emergency authority of the Council majority, I order all vessels to stand down. The Deathworld containment protocol has been permanently rescinded. Earth is recognized as a sovereign power with full rights under galactic law. The rebel fleet hesitated, caught between their secret orders and the official command of the High Counselor. Admiral Blackwood opened a channel to the rebel flagship. You came to contain a Deathworld, to eliminate what you fear. But what you fear isn't Earth, it's change itself. And change can't be stopped, only shaped. For tense moments, the outcome hung in balance. Then one by one, the rebel ships powered down weapon systems. The immediate threat had passed, but the transformation of galactic society had only begun. 1 month later, Admiral Blackwood stood again before the Galactic Council, but this time not as a supplicant or accused. She stood as Earth's first counselor, officially taking humanity's seat in the reformed council. The integration of Deathworlders into galactic society will not be easy, she told the assembled delegates. We think differently. We adapt quickly. We challenge assumptions. These qualities frightened you before, but they are exactly what the galaxy needs. She gestured to where Nexar hovered, now a permanent Krath representative. 3,000 years ago, fear led to conflict that damaged all involved. Today we choose a different path. The archivist, who had fought hardest for the reforms, spoke from her position. The oldest records speak of a time before the Council, when many paths of development were respected. We lost that wisdom, believing uniformity brought safety. We were wrong. High Counselor Vrax's bioluminescence pulsed with formal patterns of agreement. The Galactic Compact now recognizes that true strength comes not from similarity but diversity. Deathworlders and Gardenworlders, biological and energy beings, ancient and emerging civilizations, all have their place. As the council session continued, Nexar communicated privately with Blackwood. The path ahead remains difficult. Many still fear what humans represent. With good reason, Blackwood acknowledged. We're disruptive by nature. Our adaptability can seem chaotic to species evolved in stable environments, but that same adaptability allows us to change ourselves, not just our surroundings. The true test of a Deathworlder, Nexar agreed, is not surviving hostile conditions but thriving in peaceful ones. Beyond the council chamber, the practical effects of the new compact were already spreading across the galaxy. Joint human-alien research teams developed technologies combining council precision with human innovation. Earth's universities welcomed students from hundreds of worlds. Krath mentors helped humans navigate their potential evolutionary PI.